Welcome everyone to yet another episode of the Tahona Society Welfare Talks. My name is Simon Kistenfeger. I'm your host today, and I'm very thankful to have an incredible guest today, which I really admire a lot. Pauliina Marjanen, I hope I'm spelling your name right, who is hands down one of the most inspiring and respected industry figures from the Nordics. For me, there's no discussion about that. And we will talk today about a sensitive topic, which not many open themselves to speak out loud, which are struggles in the alcohol industry. And how to overcome. Welcome again. And also thank you so much for sharing your precious time with me or with us. Pauliina, I know a quick biography about your career, like you can add things. You moved to London at a very young age, I think sweet 18, right? You moved afterwards to Edinburgh. So I guess everyone will notice a slight, beautiful British accent in your voice. You worked previously as a global brand ambassador for Kuro. Also, at the moment, if I'm not wrong, you are the head of brands and communication for Kaffa Roastery, right? Which is, I have been there, in my opinion, you get one of the best brews of Finland. And I'm a coffee lover, so I always looking for specialty coffees. And yeah, truly you cannot believe how happy and thankful I am to have you here today for this mindful talk. So thank you so much, Pauliina. Maybe you can tell us in a nutshell some of your biography and say kind of your career milestones. Maybe we could begin with that. I know, for example, you went to art school, right? Until you were 15, and to a natural science school, middle school. So explain us a little bit about that.
For sure. Obviously, first of all, thank you on my behalf for having me here. It's really an honor, and it's really nice to see your face and talk to you as ever. Like you said, I was born here in Helsinki, Finland. I'm from Finland, and I moved to London when I was 18, which is kind of where I got into bartending. But before that, yes, I did go to art school from a very, very young age. My grandmother was a painter and an artist, so I was kind of always inspired by her a lot. And I went to art school until about the age of 14 or 15. After which I went to a special class for natural sciences, which just means that in my middle school years, I studied a little bit more of biology, geography, even astrology, natural sciences, mathematics, chemistry, so on and so forth, which is really interesting because I was never good at maths, but I was just really, really interested in biology, and that was kind of what took me there. And I think later we're going to be talking a little bit more about how our time in school can really change how we grow up and how we view ourselves. And as you can imagine, being a teenage girl who goes to a mathematics class, it wasn't always easy. There were a lot of name calling and stuff, but I stuck to my guns. And after that, I went to just a regular high school here in Finland. And pretty much after I graduated, that was the time that I moved to London at 18. And at that point, I had already kind of dipped my toe into hospitality. I started working at a really, really young age. I was about 15 when I got my first job as a barista in a small coffee roaster, much smaller than the one that I work for now, but they're actually still around as well. And I ended up working there for about 4 years until my move. In London, I first got into restaurants. So I worked in a small neighborhood restaurant in Queen's Park for about half a year. And then I finally got my first bartending job in Covent Garden, and I ended up doing that for the remaining 1.5 years that I spent in London. Then I moved to Edinburgh. I lived in Edinburgh for a year, also bartending in a bar restaurant which is, in my opinion, still one of my favorite restaurants and bars in the world, the Bon Vivant. And then I moved back to Finland. I bartended here for a year or so, ended up meeting the guys from Kyra and joined a program that they were doing for bartenders, which a lot of brands, I guess, do training programs and different kinds of things, and got to know the guys, got to know the brand, and was drafted from there to become the brand ambassador. It was a brand that was really, really small back then. So, I didn't need to be a famous or have a big name or anything. And I was really lucky to get the job.
Sorry to interrupt, but definitely for everyone, like for me, you were one of the main characters for the success, because you were the face and you were transporting the message of them. Yeah, which also brings me to another question. How do you became that successful, and was it like naturally, or was it in your mind that you want to get? But as I guess you just answered a slightly part of it, but yeah. And also the art school, did it kind of help you in the creating process of cocktails? Like I'm a garnish geek. I'm not telling about or not saying I'm using plastic or whatever or umbrellas, but just the natural, like the zesting, the origami style. I love that. Did it help you maybe?
Well, there's a time and a place for an umbrella. I might say,
Yes.
I'm not one to scope down on an umbrella. Look, I think when it comes to the art school and just in general having interest in the creative field, it really, because it requires you to use a different part of your brain than the logical side. So I think definitely, maybe I don't think I made the connection when I started bartending, but that was one of the things that I really loved about bartending, was that you got to use kind of your full brain. You have the creative side and then you have the logical side as well. And I think they're both equally as important. So yeah, I think, going to art school for such a long time and getting to explore different mediums of art, we really did everything from, ceramics to oil painting to photography. It really kind of opens up a different kind of way to look at everything. So yeah, definitely anything artsy is always going to support, especially if you're a bartender, your creative profession. And as for the second part, did I plan to join Gura and kind of make it a big thing? I really like the brand. I resonated with it. I wasn't, when I first started bartending, I didn't really know what a brand ambassador was. But I do remember when I first kind of started meeting brand ambassadors when I started bartending, and I thought, that's such a cool job. And I remember telling my flatmate at that time that, wouldn't it be cool if I was like a brand ambassador for a Finnish alcohol company? And I remember I even said Finlandia then, because that was really the only kind of like bigger Finnish alcohol company that I could think of. I was like, maybe I'll be a brand ambassador for Finlandia one day. I get to just like travel around the world and represent Finland. And but it wasn't anything that I was kind of focused, like laser focused on. I guess I just got a chance to be a part of something and build something that I believed in, and that was, I'm obviously very grateful to have had that chance, and it was a lot of fun. And I think when you have fun and you do fun things and you just go with it, you're bound to do something great.
No, amazing. Yeah, I mean, I think these kind of jobs, they happen naturally for the most of us if you get drafted or you're just like badass, and you really, like, again, you brought this brand to another level for sure. And I know all the other guys because we both have been even at Isukuro with a project. So yeah, I think it's a cool representative of Finnish products, and I think you fit really well in this position. Yeah, but today we won't sugarcoat anything, and like I'm gonna tell everyone from my experiences. Like I had times when I was really crazy busy with competitions, with seminars, with work, with visiting tastings, with, I don't know, dating, other projects. Like, I don't know, I think you had laid it out in a post that I had the fear of missing out. I was always the last man standing at every night. Like it still happens nowadays sometimes. And yeah, anyways, I got loaded up with too much emotion, I guess. And yeah, there were times, especially after like I won competitions, I worked with brands. There was a time I remember I was not sleeping in my bed for 3 months, like in a row. And really it took all my energy. And yeah, I had a time I could not smile anymore. Luckily it went away, but it was really taking on me. And I think a lot of bartenders have that kind of rock star life in common, and we barely speak about the downside of it. Like, you know, we brag how much we drank and how strong we are, but we barely talk about the guilty feeling of saying no. And really, I admire you so much for your honesty and for laying down the struggles you faced in your life. And this is like an upright content which helps a lot of industry guys with overcoming their conflicts, you know. And yeah, can you get us an inside view of what problems the alcohol industry brought to you and brings to others maybe, and what advices you can give on avoiding these struggles? Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I think, well, I wanna start by saying we haven't maybe said that yet, but I do want to give a bit of a trigger warning at this point. You know, if there are people out there watching that are struggling with something really heavy at the moment, maybe you know, approach with caution, because there's a lot that we're going to discuss here that's a little heavy. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I think I love the alcohol industry. I think the alcohol industry is like the most vibrant, exciting place to be in. But it's also, it's kind of like a magnifying glass of personalities and you know, other people's personalities, but your own as well, because you really have to put yourself out there every day and all the time. And I don't know if I can fully, you know, blame. I mean, obviously there's no blame here, but I don't know if I can fully put everything that I went through onto alcohol industry, but I think it definitely magnified everything and just made it kind of a bit heavier on myself. So, you know, like I mentioned earlier, I when I was a kid, I already kind of went through a bit of a, I guess, emotional trauma, being a bit different and feeling, you know, being called names like nerd. And I mean, now I love the fact that I'm a biology nerd, you know, I own it.
Right.
But you don't really at that age. And I think I really felt like I wasn't ever a part of anything. And I think going into alcohol industry, I kind of found that tribe, horrible
Right.
word, but for the first time. You know, I felt like I was a part of something, and this particular group had its own ways of being, and they weren't necessarily always the healthiest ones. You know, we all know what goes on in the alcohol industry, and they weren't necessarily the best things to do as a person who was already kind of very sensitive. And so I you know, I really enjoyed that part of my life. But when I became a brand ambassador, I had only really been working ever since I was really, really young. So I didn't really have an idea of who I was, or who I would be without alcohol or without the alcohol industry. And I think that's really dangerous if you get into the industry so young, as I did, becoming a bartender at 18. You don't really have that time to, you know, be the annoying customer on the other side of the counter.
Right.
You just immediately kind of become one of the bartenders. And for me, that really brought up a lot of issues over time. And as a brand ambassador, those issues were really magnified even
Right.
further. So I guess I always knew that I suffered from some depression and mental health issues when I was younger. I was never medicated on them because I denied medication when I was about 16 years old. And I'm happy that I did that at the time. But when I when I was a brand ambassador, and, you know, like you mentioned, you travel a lot around the world, I started to kind of have those same problems creeping back into my life and into my mind. And looking back, I gotta say, I think it was just that I fundamentally didn't really like myself as a person. And here's the deal: if you don't like yourself as a person, and you end up doing your dream job or whatever you end up doing, you get to go to all those parties, and you get to travel around the world, and you get to stay in the nicest hotels, and you know, you get to do all those things and meet all those people. But guess who's also going to be there? You're going to be there. And like, if you don't like you, then that's a problem, because after there's no more of the party, and you're alone in the hotel room, then it's
Right.
just you. And
Yeah.
we all know what
I
it's like to hang out endlessly with someone we really don't like, or with someone who's really mean to us all the time.
totally.
That's not healthy.
Yeah, like like I had that's the thing we have in common. You know, when I was young, I didn't feel confident. Like I had, or I still have, subtle ones like freckles, and I saw that I'm not pretty enough. And for me, I gained confidence starting boxing, and I became good at it. And also, like, I read a book about affirmations by a doctor. I think Dr. Shioya he's called. And now this book changed my life, like, really, because the affirmations, and I totally see the world in a different eye. Like I feel very special now. And I know you had like you, as you mentioned, you got, like, I think, bullied because of your ears once. You almost got even a surgery. And that's how we see how heavy the impact how heavy the impact can be, right? Like, and I felt the same. I was like, you know, which is totally bullshit. And social media does not help neither, because there are so many bullies out there. And yeah, it's everything is in a filter. You know, we want only the attention, we want the likes, but no one puts really honest content out. You are one of the few of my friends, and I'm really thankful for that you have the courage to put out honest content, because it helps so many more. Even maybe you get like 1/10 of the likes, but these likes you getting, believe me, they're way more worse than a picture of someone who's showing off. um, yeah, which brings me to like another point. And I think you put out another meaningful quote on social media, which really stuck in my head, which is, um, somehow, if you don't like yourself, how can you help someone else, right? And
If you
yeah,
don't love
like,
yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And
Yeah, I think that goes back into the point of like you're spending so much time with yourself, especially as a brand ambassador. But you know, in any case in life, you're bound to do that. Otherwise, you're just looking for distractions all the time, and that's not healthy either. So I think for me, I really realized that I didn't like myself that much,
yeah,
and this is not like a pity party or anything. It was just that I never had that time to get over those things from my youth and kind of get acquainted with myself on an intimate level. And that really kind of reached its peak when I was with Kura, and I um, I got really sick. This is something that I haven't spoken about anywhere. I mean, um, as publicly as this, but I developed a pretty severe eating disorder, which I really nurtured um, alone. You know, and traveling around the world when you have a lot of time alone, it's quite easy to be really ill and nobody know. And
right,
um, I don't, you know, obviously want to get too graphic about it, but that was taking my health in a very rapid sense. Um, and I ended up, you know, eventually in 2018, I just cracked that. That was kind of like what finally, you know, after a bit over a year of really suffering with with this, you know, the secret part is the worst when when you have
right,
problems with your mental health and you don't feel like you can tell anyone. That's the worst thing, when you just feel so alone with it. And yeah, 2018, I ended up telling my mother.
yeah,
She was the first person I ever told, and obviously that was really the moment where I was at a point where I knew I needed help really fast and really badly. And yeah, I mean, my next trip was scheduled to be the next following Monday from then, but I never traveled for Kura again. Um, I got on a sick leave and I got help, and this was, you know, obviously 2018, so it's quite a few years ago. I'm well now, which is why I'm talking about it
yeah.
here.
And
It's
thank you
been
so much for laying it out, because really that can help others a lot. And yeah, in that case, you're an inspiration for this planet and for all the other bartenders. Even you are not in the alcohol industry right now, but still that can help a lot. And I know a lot of, especially in the Nordics, you're still yeah, one of the figures, you know, what you reached, and a lot of guys look up to you. Um, what do you think? Is it that we are so afraid on putting like really meaningful things out on social media? You know, we are always afraid of letting others help us, or we are scared to be judged. I don't know. How did you overcome this angst, like of being judged? Yeah, like
Well,
as I said, you are one of the few friends in my friends list which I see put really honest content out, and I really enjoy reading that instead of just some random guy showing off, you know. And yeah, how did you overcome this angst?
well, I think, circling back to learning to be with yourself and learning to like yourself and recognizing those people in your life who really matter and being honest about everything to them and finding out that they still love you. Like you build that trust in trust to people and to humanity that, it's okay to be me and it's okay to say what I think and how I feel. And, you know, I think remembering that you're not really speaking to those people who don't resonate, because not everyone's going to resonate with you. Not everyone's going to want to hear what you have to say, and that's completely fine. But remembering those people that you are talking to, and just putting yourself in their shoes, in a sense. If you're going to share something that is going to help one person or even make them stop for one moment to realize something new, then that's already amazing. And it
Totally.
doesn't matter how many people don't resonate with it. It matters how many people do. We used to say this when in the beginning days of Cura, when we were hosting parties and invited a lot of bartenders around to do something, and then sometimes it would be that like nobody showed up or just two people showed up, and we always just turned to ourselves and we said, you know what, two people showed up, we're going to make sure that they have the most fun they can ever have when they're here, because that's what you're meant to do. It's fuck anyone who doesn't want to hear or doesn't want to know. Those people don't matter at that moment.
Love it, love it. Yeah, because that's the essential thing. Like, even as I said, even if only one guy will listen to that and we can help, we already won. Yeah, giving me goosebumps, you know. um do you have any recommendations on motivational figures like we should follow? For me, for example, I have Jesse Itzler or Ed Millett or Milet. They're amazing. Like, they always talk about ending our negative self-talks, or like training our minds and these kind of things. For me, really amazing guys. You guys should follow. Do you have any recommendation for us?
Well, I love that you said Jesse Isler, because actually his wife, Sarah Blakely, who is the founder of Spanx and an amazing philanthropist and an entrepreneur, she was kind of one of the people that I actually had her picture on my wall for a year. So
Awesome.
she's dope. I think in general, just I listen to a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of books. So whenever I hear someone or read about someone that I find inspiring or interesting, I'll make a note of that and start following them. I think it's something that everyone needs to curate for themselves, but really good places to start from are, obviously bigger podcasts like the School of Greatness from Lewis House. It's one of those podcasts where you have like hundreds of episodes of all these inspirational people, and just check the topic and see if that interests you, listen, and if the person who is speaking seems like someone that will inspire you further, look for more of their content. And in general, just consuming content. I have a very hard, fast, zero tolerance rule for people that I follow on Instagram or on social media. If something that I see doesn't makes me feel bad or offends me, or I feel like it's against my values, it's unfollow. It's not, I'm
Totally.
not doing anything bad, but it's just like I don't care. I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to do anything like that. It's unfollow, and then I'll follow another person that I find inspiring. And
Totally. Totally.
you need to curate that. You have to do that for yourself, because if we are actually, there's a saying that you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And in today's digital world, you might spend more time with a podcaster than you do with your own mom, then that person matters. It's important that you're feeding yourself something that's good for you.
Totally, that you feed yourself on the right. Yeah, I back in the days I thought, like when I was younger, I thought I need to please others in a way, like I think I mentioned it to you. Once I bought like a watch for like incredible amount of money. Then I bought gold jewelry. I think I spent 15,000 euro in, like, it's a lot of money, in jewelry, just to realize that didn't make me any more happy. And nowadays I understand that, like, freedom is my key to happiness. And yeah, freedom helps me when I'm feeling down. And for me, it's sport, meditations. Do you have any, yeah, what's your thing to overcome these kind of feelings when you're being down? I don't know if it's sauna as you're in Finland, or what is it?
Well, I do love a good sauna, but I think we all have our own ways of feeling calm. For me, it's definitely, it's come in the form of my recovery practices that have been, obviously working out. I love lifting heavy weights. That always puts me in the right mindset.
I love to see that. Like when you put it out, I was like, cool, it's badass.
Oh my God, my legs look like sticks. Anyway, but yeah, just working out, cooking, running, going for a walk. But I think, there's one really important thing to say about, we hear people say like running is my therapy or cooking is my therapy. And I just want to be very, very clear that these things are not my therapy. Therapy is my therapy. I go to therapy and well, currently I have like a digital therapist that's more like a chat type of thing. But, I believe that at the end of the day, if you need someone to actually talk to and some help, then you should definitely get it. But if you're just looking for something to kind of calm your mind, meditation, number one, could not live without. And yeah, just going for a walk, listening to a podcast always works.
Nice. Yeah, like, and how do you deal with negativity from others? As we already talked, like social media, you know, for me nowadays, I don't give a fuck if someone talks behind me or behind my back, because why they're behind me, that has a reason, and if you're that important that someone has to talk negative about us, as you said, like, I'm unfollowing, and like, okay, use your energy in something negative does not work. And you have a really nice tattoo, like, no bad days, right? Yeah, there you go. And yeah, I think, yeah, how do you deal with the negativity from others? I think you mentioned, like, on social media you unfollow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm really lucky in the sense that I've never really received hate per se. I have received criticism, and I always pursue criticism as a good thing to begin with. It's something to investigate and see if there's something you can do better. And we live in a sensitive time, and sometimes we can all make mistakes, and then it's up to us to kind of own it and say, okay, I'm sorry, I said something stupid or whatever. But there's a difference between criticism and hate, and I think those lines are kind of blurred nowadays. Like, people are very quick to say that someone is a hater if they're just criticizing something they're doing. So obviously I try to like not personalize criticism when I get that. But if I see that something's purely hate, if I see something's purely negativity, even if it's not aimed at me, yeah, it's not worth engaging. That's a zero-sum game. You'll never gain anything if you become engaged into that kind of thing. So yeah, it's hard, fast, unfollow, block, whatever it means in that point. But
Yeah.
with criticism, I will investigate always.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think, yeah, like, you are a very pure person as I know you. And that's why I don't think that you get or will ever get like any hate, of course, criticism, and we can, I don't know, talk each other like down, or if I say we, I talk to my inner voice, sometimes tells me things which I should not listen to. And yeah, it's that moment we have to overcome.
This is the biggest thing, criticism from yourself. I
Yeah.
have this, like, every morning I have a little moment to chat with my brain. I'll just sit in my bed, look out the window with a coffee in my hand, and I'll just see what comes up. And the craziest thing that comes up sometimes, it's like I will let my brain give me whatever it needs to say. It will start with something like, oh, you haven't paid a bill. And I go, okay, interesting. What next? And then it'll come up with something like, your boyfriend doesn't love you. And I'm like, okay, interesting. What next? You just leave it be and just go on and acknowledge the thoughts and, leave it on its own value, I guess,
Right.
because our brains are, kind of stupid sometimes.
Totally, yeah. And another thing, like as we already mentioned, in a slight way in the intro, with 18 you moved to London by yourself. I love being by myself and travel around the world. By now I think I've been in over 80 countries, and there I want to go everywhere and see and connect with all the cultures out there, because I'm meeting wonderful humans like you. And do you have any tips or advices for bartenders, chefs, baristas who would love to live one day in their life in another country and travel? Like, should they plan their steps? I mean, now in a pandemic situation, it's harder, but it's still possible. I'm in Mexico right now, and I met guys who just moved here and say, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. Do you have any? Yeah.
Oh my God,
Any
I mean,
advices?
I'm not a good example of this because I really like it wasn't that planned for me. I just decided to go, and I was young. I always wanted to live in London. I just thought, fuck it, I had a little bit of savings and I went and I had no plan. I had no nothing, and I paid for that. It could have gone a lot smoother for me, but at the end of the day, I ended up doing just what I needed to do. And quite the same way, and my partner, my boyfriend, he just moved here to Finland a year ago. um, and we kind of started off our relationship with, like, we'd been on a couple of dates and I said, why don't you move to Finland and, and be with me here? And
So,
he had no plan, he had no nothing, and he just came, and things are amazing now. So I think sometimes you just got to follow that thing, that curiosity, and go and do it, and don't be scared. If you're lucky enough to have someone who cares for you, that you always have somewhere to go if things fall apart, then that's already amazing.
and it's so
Just
much
go.
easier nowadays, right? It's so much easier nowadays. Like our parents, they would not have that chance to date someone from wherever in the world and just hop into a plane, do like Zoom meetings. No, they didn't have this chance. So we have to be aware that we are very lucky nowadays with all the social media whatsoever. If we use it wisely, we are really, really lucky. Like, or Google, my parents, when they traveled, they didn't have it. They had like a map, and then they had to read what's going on. They had to more interact with the locals. We are very lucky in that sense that we can save a lot of time, but also it's a danger. It's the thin line.
There's a danger there, and I guess I want to point out again something that we already mentioned, was that, like, do remember that moving to another country, like, it's not gonna, guess who's gonna be there? You're gonna be there. So if you're running away from yourself or the way that your life or relationship have turned out, it might not be the best idea. Maybe it will work, maybe not. Who am I to say? But I'm just saying, as a person who did run away from some issues, that maybe there were things that I should have faced before I moved.
Right.
And that's for everyone to decide for themselves.
Totally, totally. Like, how did you make friends in other countries? Like, I signed up in a lot of tasting classes or sit myself on the bar counter and interacted. What's your go-to? Or because sometimes I know it can be very lonely as well. And I have talking with a lot of industry guys who moved to a different country who felt like, I feel like very, very lonely. Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, the bar counter. Like, there's no replacement for that. Sitting at the bar counter is, my number one favorite hobby. It still is. And just going out and, of course you get a vibe when you go to a bar. You get a vibe from the bartender, you get a vibe from the people there. If they're really busy and slammed, then you don't want to be the guy sat at the bar, like, asking all these stupid questions. But, just walk in, have a drink, be kind. And if there's conversation, and, we all share something in common. That's the amazing thing. Like, you can travel anywhere in the world, go to a bar, and you share something in common with that
Right.
person who's behind the bar. So that's amazing, and that should definitely be, fun, a fun thing to do, and not a stressful. I have to find some bar and make these people like me. If they don't
Right.
like you, go to the next bar. There's loads.
And I
Yeah,
hope
but that's
soon
number
it's
one.
I hope soon it's gonna be possible for all us around the world. Like Germany, I just heard we are in again in a lockdown. Yeah, it's a really hard situation these days,
Same here.
and yeah, I really hope soon it's sooner than later it's possible, and we're gonna have a drink at the bar. Also, I see you're often putting out pics of food, which I really love. And I think your pictures are great. I guess art school helped you there as well. But you had to change your diet drastically, like due to a gluten-free intolerance. But I love that you are still positive about everything. And you once said, I think you do not feel that you're missing out. Instead, what you do, you check the food labels and you become more mindful on what you eat, which is super important. And I do it as well. That made me happy because friends, they're making jokes about me when I'm like reading the labels, and I'm like, no, I don't want to eat something I don't know what it is. And yeah, do you have any recommendations for industry guys how to keep a more healthy balance? I know, for example, you do meal prepping. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess food for me, obviously being, an eating disorder recoverer, it's something that I really struggled for a long time with. And once I was getting better, I was still physically kind of getting worse. So I decided to go to the doctor. And obviously, I was diagnosed with celiac disease just a bit over a year and a half ago. And that was a massive blow for me. I was just over all my restriction, all my previous disordered tendencies around the food, and I felt like I was ready to just kind of be normal with food again. And there it was, celiac disease, which is a lifelong gluten-free diet. And it's really made me even more interested in food as not just like what's on the plate, but what's on the plates, and a year ago I started studying functional nutrition, which I'm currently studying in the weekends as well. I'm hoping to graduate in 3 years, which will be interesting, and goes back to like just the science of food and everything like that is absolutely fascinating to me. I think, when it comes to finding the perfect diet for you or finding the perfect balance for you, I think if you can cook as much as you can by yourself, make food for yourself. And this is where meal prep comes in. If you're going to be working long days and you don't have food there, just interacting with the food that you make, I think is like number one step that we should just do more. It's got so many benefits. First, what goes into your food. Carrots don't have labels, cabbage doesn't have labels, and that's perfect. They don't need it. You know what goes into that dish. You're having a personal connection with the food, which makes it better always.
Totally.
And you're not eating all this crap that is put into the ready meals, and even some restaurant meals. I have to say, they're not the healthiest options ever. So I think start by cooking your own meals, and that's like number one, and make it fun, make it enjoyable in any kind of way. If you want to take photos for Instagram, do that. If that makes it more fun for you, then do it. And yeah, I mean, if there's anyone out there who's really struggling with eating or struggling with food, um, there are professionals to help with that. If you need a dietitian who is more like a clinical help, or even just a nutritionist, I know it's really privileged to be able to get one, but there are different programs that you can see if there are going on, and just learn about it. I don't want to say anything to any specific diet per se, but I will say, obviously I've been studying nutrition for a year now, and I've gone through my own things. So I
There's
will
like a lot
say,
of miseducation, like in advertising and wherever. So yeah, I love that you're laying that out because yeah, you have to find, I think, your diet and yeah.
exactly. And I will say, I think if it seems like a kind of diet that you're not going to be able to live your entire life on, then it's probably not going to work. So, that's just my personal opinion. So, yeah.
Totally. Totally. You mentioned also that you're doing like, yoga, weightlifting nowadays. I love to do sport, but how do you motivate yourself? Because, I have sometimes this feeling that I'm down and I'm like, why? How can I do it now? And if I do it, if I'm in this circle, I want to do it every day, like maybe twice even, because I feel, but up to this point, how do you motivate yourself on the days we are like not getting up?
Well, I love exercising. I gotta say this, like just to put it out there, I think the gym is like a playing ground for grown-ups. I love going there and just playing around. I have so much fun when I do it. And it did take me a long time to get to that point. It did take me a lot of routine and just kind of trying out different things and finding what I like. I've gone through all the phases. I've gone through the running and the cycling and the yoga and everything. And right now it's weightlifting, and when it changes, it changes. And I think just not trying to, do something that you don't like, because there's different kinds of sports. You're going to find something that you like. Just try different things. Obviously I'm really lucky now because I live in an apartment building that we have a gym here. So it's like 2 floors down. So this is,
So much
it's
worse. Like, yeah. Like now
yeah.
at my girlfriend's place in Mexico, and they have like a gym up in the 17th floor. Like you have a view over Mexico City right next to a pool. And I'm like, wow. I talked with my business partner about it, and he's like, man, if we would have that at home, fuck, we would be machines. He was like, yes, like, yeah, but it's
Like I have to stop myself from going to the gym on my rest days. I'm like, no, Pauliina, you're gonna have to rest one day. Like just do it now.
I know that feeling, yeah. And what helped me, and I would recommend everyone start like building like a gym in your home. It helped me so much. Like when I wake up and I do some uh, push-ups followed by weightlifting or whatever, even if it's just a little bit, it helps me, and it makes me feel like it sets the table for the day, in my opinion. If you start it early, sometimes I'm doing it in the evening, but there's not like a real routine. But it is important that you do some sort of sport if you can. I
Yeah, and just like if you're starting out with weightlifting or going to the gym, just remember that no one honestly cares like what you're doing there. Like as long as you're not hurting anyone or throwing weights or being rude, like put on your music, put your hair up, and like just do your thing. Try out different stuff, and it's just gonna be fun. And also like don't try and lift too heavy just to be cool, because you will break yourself.
Right, right. No, like for me, you are one of the strongest industry persons I know. Like not from weightlifting, but from putting out all of this really mindful stuff. And um, would you have like a message to your younger self, maybe? Which now, like, don't take it too serious, or I don't know, which you would tell you now.
Oh my God, I love this question. Really, I do. And you were talking about affirmations earlier, and obviously we're talking about meditation. And I do meditations where I kind of try and reconnect with my younger self. And sometimes I have people ask this question before, like, what advice would you give to your younger self? And I honestly don't know, because this sounds so cliche, but I love where I am right now. So I'm afraid that if I gave any advice to my younger self, then I would have done something differently, and I wouldn't want that. But I guess just the one thing would be that you are enough, that you are going to be enough, and you are enough already, and you always have been.
The
And
powerful affirmation, I think we
that's it. And
start
that's
every
what I tell
morning. You are
myself.
enough.
If I wake up early in the morning and I feel like crap, I'll go to the bathroom and I'll be a crazy person and stare at myself in the mirror and just say, you are enough. And that's
Love it. I love it. This is an amazing message we should send ourselves like every day. Um, cool. Another thing? What do you think about the future of our industry, like bars, coffee, restaurants? Like, will there be a new normal? Are we going to be more mindful? Is it going to be better than ever? Which I believe in, and no matter what, it must be for us, for ourselves.
it's gonna have to be. I mean, yeah, I guess, obviously I mentioned that I'm studying nutrition now, functional nutrition. So not clinical scientific, obviously, yes, science as well, but more on the functional holistic side. And I believe, health is a combination of not just, food and stuff and exercise, but also your social health, your mental health. These are really, really important parts. And I think restaurants are healthy, very healthy, because they're social, but I think there are other ways where we could serve people better when it comes to really serving their life, healthy life, and those other aspects. I don't have anything against alcohol or having a good party here and there and staying up all night and that, but I think there's going to be more balance in the future. I think there's going to be, we're already seeing younger people don't drink that much, and they drink more mindfully, and they eat more mindfully, and they're more and more interested in what is inside the drink and on the plate. And I think there's going to be more functional nutrition combined into both alcohol as well as food industry, and even coffee. I'm in the coffee industry now, and we're seeing a lot of adaptogenic coffees coming out. We're seeing nootropics, CBD infused stuff, and I think the same goes to alcohol as well. We're seeing cool brands that are doing non-alcoholic but enhanced nootropic drink, and food as well. So I think that's going to be the future. I think there's always going to be both extremes. I don't think dive bars are going anywhere anytime soon, and I don't want them to, but I think it's going to diversify a lot.
Right. Oh, love it. Also, you mentioned coffee. As you work in the coffee business, I need your knowledge on a coffee topic. When I drink 2 cups of coffee, it just started like a couple of years ago. I get like jitters, and I get a kind of, I don't know if it's anxiety or what it is, if that makes sense. But my girlfriend, on the other hand side, she can drink up to like 7 cups without any problems. Like, I don't know, she's a Latina, maybe that has an influence. I don't know. What's your take on too much coffee? Like for me, really, I tend nowadays to drink even decaf, like still has coffeine, as we know, or I drink rather mate tea because it gives me the same energy, but not the jitters. But I love the taste of coffee. So what's my problem that I'm getting the jitters?
No, I get you totally. I get the same. And the anxiety, some days I'll have 4 cups of coffee and then a pre-workout, which is like 5 cups of coffee worth. And then I'll just be like laying in bed for the rest of the day, not being able to think straight. I don't know for sure why different people can handle caffeine differently. But for me personally, I would suggest for anyone to stay under 4 cups of just regular coffee, or 4 espressos or 2 double espressos a day. That's just kind of 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and then supplement with decaf coffee. I drink decaf coffee. I think just the one thing that you want to find out with your decaf coffee is the way that it's processed. So you want to look for a decaf coffee that's been decaffeinated with a process of ethyl alcohol and water instead of chemicals or anything like that. So when they decaffeinate it with ethyl alcohol and water, they the coffee retains most of its antioxidants and all the good stuff, or the flavor, but you get kind of gentle removal of the caffeine, and there might be some left, but it's negligent, so you won't even notice. So yeah, decaf. And I mean, I make my coffees exclusively on pour over methods. I have a Chemex, I have a V60, and sometimes I'll use an AirPress. But when your coffee routine is something like a Chemex that takes a good, like after I wake up, it's gonna take 20 minutes before I have a coffee in front of me. With all the I grind everything.
Like
I
a
do all
ritual, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, just it's better that it's like that than just push up a button and you have a new coffee again.
Totally. The ritual. I even use like these old coffee grinders. I have like 5 or 6, all in a different grinding level, and it takes time. But always I having guests over. I'm like, hey, you want a coffee? They're like, yeah, here. Do some interactive stuff, and it's worth so much more. You smell the beans. You see the differences in the roasting levels. And as you say, it's the ritual, and yeah, it's magical. It's a magical beverage, which a lot of people, I think it's the most consumed beverage in the world after water, right? Especially in Finland.
Especially in Finland, we drink more coffee than anyone else. Unfortunately, though, we do have a big coffee waste issue here because, yeah, people make a lot of coffee and then they literally cannot drink that much.
Right. Oh, is it?
So that's a bit of a, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. But yeah, I think just make it a thing, like make everything a thing. That's the, make cooking a thing and make your workout a thing. Like just be mindful and be present when you're doing it. And then there's no like, oh my God, what just happened? I just had like 10 cups of coffee and I don't even remember it. Like it's just not gonna happen.
And do you have like a time when you say, I'm until that time I drink coffee and then that's it? Because back in the days, I could drink at night like an espresso in the
No,
restaurant. No
on
problem.
shift, pints of coffee.
Yeah, but
Oh my
nowadays
God.
I cannot do it. I just cannot do it. And I remember with Tim actually, he always like praying, don't drink coffee, like because it has the half time. Don't drink it too late. And he was right. Like he's right, I think. And you joined also the Healthy Hospo for a while, or are you still doing actions in Finland?
Well, we're not really doing anything here at the moment, and yeah, I mean, I joined. I really wanted. It was 2019. I really wanted to help, and really wanted to be a part of something that was helpful. I think it wasn't really the right time for me at that point to begin helping others. I'm now at the point where I feel like I'm kind of good, but at that point, I was still really working on a lot of my own stuff, but
Right.
it gave me a lot in the sense that what I got to do was work one-on-one with a couple of bartenders, with a couple of people here in the industry who reached out to me, privately on DMs. I got to help some people find therapists and stuff like that, and that was really kind of the biggest success that I found out of it. Of course, we organized an event here, but I also think that at that point, the brands in Finland weren't really ready to invest in things like Healthy Hospo. And I think maybe times are changing now, especially after the COVID time.
Right.
But yeah, that was that. At the moment, we're not really doing anything here, and obviously, the team's working on some really really big things, and he's
Right.
doing an amazing job with what he's doing. So hopefully, in the future, I'll get to help him out with that again, for
I
sure.
think the last time I've been in Finland, we had a coffee at your place before we left. It was after, it was
Yeah, it's
on a
true.
society also. So
My old place. Yeah, yeah. But just to say, go back to that, what Tim said, that you have to stop drinking coffee early, and that is absolutely true. For me, 3 p.m.
drink
I
coffee
can't.
late, yeah.
Hmm?
No, you said drink coffee early, drink coffee late.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like I cannot drink coffee after 3 p.m. It's
Right.
just going to mess up with my sleep. So 3 p.m. it's like after that it's decaf. Yeah, I mean if I'm in a restaurant and it's going to be a late night and after dinner I'm going to have an espresso if we're going out for drinks after, of course. But like
Right.
in general, 3 p.m.
Cool. Yeah. I've kind of the same. For me, it's like 7 hours before I go to sleep, no more coffee. Otherwise, no, I will have a not regular sleeping pattern. Pauliina, thank you so much for your inside view. Like to recap the session, I want to say something, which is, I think we don't have to be perfect to inspire others. And you are the best example, because you inspired me, you inspired others, many others, by letting us know how you are dealing with your imperfections. And this is massive, I definitely will re-watch this session many times in the future and remind myself that it's okay not to be perfect. Yeah, like I think this is really really massive, and I don't have words for describe this. I would call it even my world class talk, because it was the most mindful talk I had so far in the welfare series. I just have one last question. What's your favorite tequila drink? Like, because next time we're gonna see each other, it's definitely gonna be on me, because today you made my day, and I believe the day of many others. So, what's
Oh
your
wow, I can't wait to have tequila drinks with you. My favorite tequila drink, I mean, I'm gonna be a cliche. I'm a margarita drinker. We eat Mexican food with my partner all the time, and it's always margaritas. Then he would want to make Tommy's margaritas, but I am, a classic Contra kind of girl. Um, on the rocks, always with ice. We drink them from this big wine glass.
okay?
You need a big glass, and yeah, that's mine. Sometimes a Paloma, but margarita, sorry to be, boring, but it's a classic for a reason.
No, I don't think it's boring. Like, I think if you have a good orange liqueur. Are you gonna do it with salt rim, half rim? What's your
Yeah,
plan?
of course. Yeah, salt rim all the
Well,
way.
nice. No, I think it's a fantastic drink. Like, and yeah, Mexican food, it's hard to beat for me in the top five. I'm struggling a bit with going every day out, and I love tacos, and like sometimes it's too heavy. So I have to go double in the gym if I want to maintain, because I feel it's taking on me, but I love it. It's Mexican food is sublime.
I
Uh,
can't wait to meet you guys in Mexico.
yeah, definitely. So really, thank you again so much for being here, to taking the time to invest for others, because that's not what a lot of guys do. Everyone wants to be me, me, me. You just shared a lot of knowledge with us, which is it's phenomenal. How you say thank you, Kitos, no?
Jesus.
Kitas,
Yeah.
Kitas, yeah. I wish you nothing but the best in all things. Whatever you're gonna do, I know you're gonna kick ass. Go your way. Keep sharing really this mindful things, because again, I cannot say it often enough. It is something I really enjoy on Instagram. It's refreshing that someone is not always filtering themselves. You putting out, and you help others, and I guess you helping yourself with it as well. So yeah, wish you nothing but the best in all things. And do you have anything to add? You want to say? You want to greet
No, I
someone?
think I guess I just want to say, we talked about some really difficult stuff today, and I'm really, really grateful that you are giving a platform for this, for myself and for other people as well. I'm sure there are other really important messages in this talk series, and I encourage anyone, to keep watching them and be educated and learn about the world and other people. And also, if anyone wants to reach out to me further, you are more than welcome to do that. You'll find me on Facebook with my name, which is just behind Simon right there, or on Instagram as well. So I'm always available for a chat if anyone wants to
Yeah,
talk about
cool.
it.
Thank you so much. Same with me, guys. If you have any question, just send me a message, text through our platform, the Taona Society, which is now the world's leading educational platform for tequila and things around, because we see things different, like you see with our competition. And yeah, it's so important to not always brag about what we are. So keep going. And Pauliina, thank you so much for taking your time again. Wish you nothing but the best, and can't wait to see you and visit Finland hopefully soon.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.